All right. So for all those people out there claiming that the NHL season is too long, get ready because it's about to get longer, and we'll explain why on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with me as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. If you want to get in on the conversation, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, share it on this very podcast. What we have lined up today, we'll get back to those athletic rankings. They did the center depth, the last episode we did, and now they did the wings. So we will get to that. And look at the shirt you're wearing. It was like you knew.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Like locked
my
in.
My love for Buc-ee's brought us here.
And yeah, for the opening about the season getting longer, it's because that's in the new CBA, which could be announced. If you're listening to this on Friday, it could be announced Friday. So that is one of many things that we'll discuss in this new CBA. But where we're going to start today, Kyle, is a little bit of Central and a little bit, the Avalanche related stuff. And it's all centered around the Buffalo Sabres because they made a move, and it just had pretty much the whole hockey community scratching their head and getting rid of, or trading, I should say, JJ Peterka to Utah. So that right there, if you forget about what they got in return, was as much of a story as it is. Just that right there, it's just Central just keeps getting better in this offseason. It's just another player that comes to this division that just makes this division even more difficult than it already was. And then, the return that the Sabres got was very underwhelming. 2 players, that's it. No draft picks or anything like that. They get Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan, so a defenseman and a forward. Not terrible players, but you would think you'd get a little bit more in return if you're giving up someone like JJ Peterka, who is on the verge of just breaking through, who kind of has already, but a lot of people feel like it has not reached the ceiling yet. And now the other player is Bowen Byram, so he's getting brought up in the mix a lot too. And yes, Darren Dreger, who posted, here are the teams that are in on Bo Byram, and he listed the Colorado Avalanche. So we'll get to that in a second, but talk about just the Peterka trade first and what the Sabres are doing. Is this something bigger, or no? Is this just they don't know how to operate over there?
I think you might be correct with the last portion of that. I think we need to stop letting Buffalo have players because this is Jack Eichel all over again. Even though Eichel wanted out and it was very loud, what is going on in Buffalo? I'm surprised that Owen Power and Tage Thompson are still there. I just don't understand what Buffalo's doing, and they're making life harder in the Central and the West, honestly. Fine, whatever floats your boat, Buffalo, but you got nothing back. And Peterka, I'm interested to see what Utah's building. I've said that many, many times, and it's continuing. And again, they're in on basically everybody that comes up. Anybody that moves, they have money and they have draft capital, and they could be a force this free agency period and off season. So I'm keeping an eye on Utah, and I'm just, hey, you guys had the great throwbacks. Good job on you, Buffalo Sabres, but there's literally no reason why I need to be watching anything that you're doing right now.
We talk a lot here about Chris McFarland, and some people don't like the moves that he made. Seriously though,
yeah,
that's what it could be, is what they're doing in Buffalo. Come on now, people. There's no comparison between, how the Avalanche operate and how the Sabres operate, pretty much how any other team in the league operates compared to Buffalo. You just have to scratch your head and be like, what is going on there? And because you were here, I love this time of year. I put it up on social media how like I'm almost liking the free agency rumor period more than the actual free agency period right now, because it's awesome. Like every time you see a post from one of the insiders, it's like this guy is on the market. These are the teams available, or in the discussion for him, and sometimes those work out. A lot of times they don't. But I just love all of this conjecture and what ifs going on. It's great. It's great. And for what you heard around Buffalo, what was that?
I have no idea.
Kyle might be getting beamed up here in a second. But what you hear out of Buffalo was that the Byram move was very likely, and that the Peterka one, they weren't completely sold on that. They were going to hang on to him, and that wasn't going to happen. And you kind of heard that out of their own mouths. They had a press conference, and GMs and owners were there, and they said like, we're not gonna talk about that. You hear a lot of nonsense and a lot of junk out there in the offseason, and a day later they trade Peterka. So that's just like the exciting part of all this stuff. But the Byram name was the one that you really thought was going to happen, not so much the Peterka one. And now I don't want to say it's changed, because I think Byram is still out there and still very much could be dealt. So let's get this to the Avalanche thing. Like, could that actually happen, where the Avalanche bring him back for this next season? He does not have a contract, so he's still a restricted free agent. So you'd have to sign him to a new contract. Obviously, there have to be money going out. Let's start there, because there's a follow-up I want to ask you on this whole situation here.
Yeah, because it gets interesting, because it would have to be like a sign and trade, or because again, like
well,
go ahead.
I was going to say it would have to be what JJ Peterka did, because Peterka was a restricted free agent and he agreed to a deal with Utah to finalize that trade. So it wasn't like, oh, we're trading you his rights and good luck dealing with him. It was, nope, we have a deal in place. He's willing to sign it and make this deal happen. So it would have to be something like that. Yes.
Yeah, because the Avs don't have a lot of money right now. So, and if you're which I guess is going to double into probably what you're about to ask on the second half, is would he be an addition or a plus? And like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get why, other than, yes, he was here. He's familiar with the system, but they traded him for a reason. And like, things just kind of weren't there. Byram was good, but the injuries were a problem. And then he really started on the downturn production wise. I just don't see why that would be an answer, unless this is the piece that moves the Sam G iceberg. But I don't. Yes, he's good. I don't have any ill feelings, but I'm not really screaming from the rooftops, please bring him back.
I think the playoff run that they had, he was great. He was really good, and yes, injuries played a role, but he was a young guy and he was still developing. He was still coming into his own. And, if you were to get him a year removed from it, that's, he's still on the upswing. If you ask me, like, his analytics are really good. So, but he is one of those guys where, can he drive a line? I don't know. But the problem with him is, like, he wanted to be a top pairing guy. He was never going to be that in Colorado. That's part of the reason. I mean, it was a perfect scenario for the Avalanche to trade him for that reason. They needed the 2C. They thought Middlestat was going to be that guy. You don't want to revisit all that stuff. But if you're bringing him back here, he's going to be going right back to that role that he had, which he wasn't crazy about. Like, I mean, like he wasn't crazy about it long term. He wanted to be that guy. He was a 4th overall pick. He wants to be a top pairing guy. So I think for that aspect, it would be a little bit weird to bring him back. Money wise, yes. I mean, you're throwing out the Sam Girard thing, and we know what Sam Girard makes, and Byram would be around that same money area, like minimally. might want a little bit more, and you don't have that right now. So it wouldn't be like a 1-for-1 if you did want to get offload Sam Girard. But the follow-up question I was going to ask you is Buffalo hearing all of this, what's going on in the hockey world right now, and kind of coming to terms with an underwhelming return that they got, and now maybe going to play a little bit more hardball with it dealing Byram, and it's no longer, oh, we're just going to give you a stick of gum and a Spotify subscription, and we'll get Bowen Byram off your hands for you. Like, I really wonder if they're listening to, the hockey world being like, that wasn't much, and them kind of like turning the page and being like, okay, well, we're still dealing Byram. Let's not go 0 for 2 here in making kind of questionable deals, and that makes it that much more difficult to trade for Byram.
Well, see, if that's the case, then you've just eliminated the Avalanche from contention of being a trading partner, because look at what they just did. They were second in the Jonathan Toews signing, if that's what you want to say, and they are committed to bringing back last year's team, and they really love the construction of that team. You didn't hear those comments when Byram was a member of this team. They made a move to make the team better and deeper. And if you're doing a 1-for-1 or a 1+ depth piece to like Sam Girard plus a player to bring in Bowen Byram, it's basically the same person, same skill. Like, Bo is not that physical. And if you brought in a guy like Lindgren last year to kind of like change the physicality on the D line, like to go back to Bowen Byram, they're not. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And if they want to start playing like the smart trades, look at Philadelphia. Don't look at Colorado.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, again, going back to like, if it's just a 1-for-1 thing, that wouldn't make much sense to me. If it's part of like a bigger deal, like some blockbuster deal where there's multiple players going around.
Tage Thompson?
I mean, good Lord. Are you kidding me? Like, are you packaging Tage Thompson, Bowen Byram in a deal? Like, no way. And like draft
Charlie
picks
Coyle, Sam Girard.
Who knows? Then you can start saying like, okay, well, I can see where this is making some sort of sense, but it doesn't. It doesn't feel like. And typically, when teams trade a player, they don't bring them back. Not this quickly, anyway. Maybe down the like, Eric Johnson, a few years
Matt
removed.
Matt Nieto exception.
You do it. No, you do it. Like, but it's not. This just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. And I don't know. And again, going back to the whole like, would Buffalo play a little bit more hardball because this deal with Peterka? You're also hearing, and again, this is the rumor season. You don't know the truth to it. Some of the deals and players they turned down. I don't know if you saw that list.
I did,
but good Lord. Like, if you listed those, they had one of like Marco Rossi was on there. It's escaping my head right now. But if you listed all the ones that were on there and the Utah one, I would do the Utah one probably last with all the other opportunities that they had. Again, if they are true. So a very weird day for the Sabres, and I am like fixed on where Byram goes, if he goes, and for what. Because you gotta wonder if the Sabres, and I know the answer to this, learned a lesson, but I don't feel like they did, because this isn't just this one move that they made that is like questionable. You can go back years and be like, wow, you gotta have a trading players 101 course brought to Buffalo, New York, because it is.
Sam Reinhart, anyone?
Fans. Yeah. I mean, just the list goes on. So definitely something to watch and interesting. So, all right. As we move on, let's discuss this collective bargaining agreement, which the extension seems to be ready to be signed and announced. Could be Friday. Some of the things that are in on it, pretty interesting. Let's get to that next. All right, let's hear from Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day, and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands, and that's exactly where Game Time comes in. And it's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can even splurge on some food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. And Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch. And they got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right. So, the collective bargaining agreement, we heard all along that this was just not going to be a point of contention. And there was, we're not going to even be close to a lockout, canceled season, any of that stuff. Yeah. Shudder. And it seems like they're holding true to that. So it seems like this is going to be signed, sealed, delivered. It does not kick in until after this upcoming season. So this upcoming season is the last year on the current CBA. And this one is a 4-year extension with some new wrinkles in it and some interesting ones. So we'll get when it's signed and they release, everything new. But here's what we are hearing and expecting. And like I opened the show with, maybe the big one. There's a couple big ones in here. This is one I think a lot of people are going to talk about. They are removing 2 preseason games, which a lot of people are very thrilled with. So they're going down to 4 preseason games, but they're adding those 2 games to the regular season. So instead of an 82-game season, you are now looking at an 84-game season for the NHL starting in 2026. Thoughts on that?
Bring it. Eliminate those preseason games, get us right into it. I'm all for it, honestly. 2 more games, it's not a big deal. It's not going to make the season that much longer in the grand scheme of things. Maybe 3 days tops. Big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me up. All you had to say was 2 less preseason games, and you got me.
Yeah, why not just stop there, though? Like, if it's not a big deal, if it only extends the regular season by a few days, what's the point in doing it then? Other than money, because money revolves around, is everything that revolves around. But I think, it's fine. Like, it's weird. Like, I don't care either way. It is extra hockey. It's extra meaningful hockey in the style of 2 games. I'm just waiting for
money.
It is. That's what it is. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for who's going to be the first guy to get hurt in game 83 or 84. And now that's a problem. Yeah, but, that's true for the NFL too, and they expanded as well. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think I'm leaning more towards being fine with it. But I also just feel like, we don't need the season to be longer because it's long enough already. I think they are going to back up the start of the regular season too. They'd have to. I mean, 3 days is 3 days. 4 days is 4 days. I think that's the one thing for me is like started earlier, ended earlier. I want to see what the schedule looks like. How much of an impact does this make? I'm not anticipating much, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't even think it's going to be an issue when you don't even like put a lot of gravity on those extra 2 games. I think it's going to feel just about as normal as a regular season.
Player contracts. Right now, the maximum term on contracts is 8 years. They are dropping that to 7. So maximum you can sign with your current team is 7. So obviously, if you're going to a new team, it is 6. I'm okay with this one. I kind of like this. Like, it kind of makes it a little bit more competitive, quicker. You know what I mean? I know it's only a year, but man, like an 8-year deal, you just always feel like, well, that player is just, whenever he signs an 8-year deal, like that player's retiring after that contract. And for 7, it's like, all right, well, he can be available at the end of that. I just feel like it makes it more players more available quicker, which it does. It's a year less.
It gives more life, and it gives a little bit more freedom to these contracts too, because a lot changes with front offices and team complexion. And yeah, cutting it back a year, giving the player a chance to get out of Dodge real quick, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. It seems like we are getting a playoff salary cap where right now there is none. And they're going to do something to address the LTIR loophole. Don't know exactly what that is yet, but apparently they've all so many teams have done it. It's kind of fun to joke about and say like, oh, like the Tampa Bay Lightning when they had, what was it, like $115 million in the playoffs, technically not doing anything against the rules, but yeah, it is a loophole and the league notices it, and apparently that is going to be no longer.
Yeah, and I mean, you knew it was coming, and honestly, we can't comment on it anymore because I mean that's why Landy got to play in the playoffs. So, like,
yeah, but I mean that's a 3-year LTIR, but
I get it, but it's still like the great moment that we talk about. It's still because of that. So
yeah, and I'm not trying to defend him or anything like that, but it wasn't the round 1, game 1 he was suddenly playing. He still waited a few games. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm just saying, by like, it's not like they were playing like shenanigans just to make it happen, but like that loophole also provided like positive things too. But it's kind of, teams abused it and some people used it, and kind of putting a salary cap on it would be great.
Seems like they are doing away with deferring salaries, which doesn't happen a ton. But it could. Who was it? I think it was Frank Vetrano. Just did a deferred salary where he's not going to get paid the bulk of his money for like 10 years. So in doing that, it just lowers what it goes against the salary cap. And if you're saying like, oh, why don't more players do it? Well, it's because you want your money right here and right now. But he's been in the league for a little while. I don't need it right now. Give it to me in retirement. And teams can do that. Players can do that. Apparently that's going away completely. Like you can't do that at all. So I think it's interesting. Again, not a ton of players do it, but it was an option for some players to do it. And that seems to be no longer. So.
Yeah, I don't get why it has to go away. I thought it was not a bad idea and a great approach and team friendly and player friendly in the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, go ahead, NHL. Fine. We can have nice things, then you do something typical NHL.
Let's see. So there's signing rights for draft picks will be uniform across the board until age 22. So basically, it gets a little like convoluted with where you draft a player from on the just plethora of leagues that are out there. Basically, whatever league they're drafted from, if he's 18 years old, you have their rights for 4 years. It was different depending on the league that you played in, but that now it's just going to be uniform. Doesn't matter what you do. So, okay.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yep.
There was, let's see, the revenue split they're going to get into. Oh, the e-bug. You're going to have a permanent e-bug, emergency backup goalie, where before it was, I don't know who's the dude working at the supermarket down the street, or like wherever you can pull a guy from. He was an emergency backup goalie, and now there's going to be an established full-time position for an e-bug. So cool. Why not?
I'm interested to see if that plays against the salary cap.
Yeah, I can't imagine it does, because the amount that you use the e-bug is so minimal. It should not count again. I think that like you get a certain amount if you get used, whatever that is. I don't know what it is, and that will continue to be what that will be. Yeah. There's no way that they can sign a guy that will probably not play all year long. That's pretty crazy.
I do love the e-bug because we almost had Patrick Waugh play a game when he was a coach.
It's always fun. You always root for the ebook. And then finally, teams will no longer be able to mandate a player dress code. So you always see the players walking in from their cars just dressed to the nines, looking dapper. They don't have to do that anymore. But I'm interested to see if just the players just continue to do this. I feel like they enjoy like dressing up, looking nice, looking sharp, and getting to the arena that way. But they don't have to anymore if they don't want to. There's going to be some players that'll be like, I'm done with that. I don't want to wear a suit. But there's going to be some that absolutely still do.
No, I think this is great. I think like the dress thing, I get it. It's like, oh, here we go, show respect. I'm like, whatever. Like, get to the ring, look comfortable, and guess what? NHL has a problem creating stars. This is a good way to stand out.
Yeah,
and I think this will be good for the health of the league and the optics. Like really creating stars. And oh wow, what's he doing dressing like this? I think this is great. And Lou Lamoriello has no more power.
Yeah, I think it just lets them be themselves more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I there are some characters in the league that I'm curious to see what they show up in. So you're gonna get a little bit of everything. Players will just continue to do it, and players that show up like they just rolled out of bed and are just still in their pajamas.
That's the best.
It's gonna be great. So we'll see. We'll see what the final details on all this is. But those were just a couple of them. There's a lot in there, obviously, with money and 50-50 split on revenue and all that stuff. So we'll see where it goes if and when it gets finalized. But things like sounds like everything is trending towards that very soon. So, all right, one last thing to do, and we're going to dive into the Athletic and their ranking of the wingers in the NHL. Who's got the best? Where the Avalanche land? We'll do that next. Let's hear from Monarch Money. If you ever wish managing your money felt easier, and with Monarch Money, it can. And whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you are also building wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com, and you get 50% off of your first year. Once again, that is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNHL, and you got 50% off of your first year over at Monarch Money. Check them out today. All right, we did the center depth based on the Athletic rankings. Today we're going to do the wings, and they did release their defense pairings and power rankings. So we'll do that Monday. I don't know if they've done the goalies yet. I think they would.
I'm curious to see what that looks like.
I am too. I don't think they have. I'll go back and check. But getting to the wingers, like I said, with the centers, the Avs were fourth overall. And for what they were looking for when it came to centers, it said nothing. For your wingers, I'll just start at the top, stop when I get to the Avalanche. Tampa Bay Lightning are number 1. Florida Panthers are number 2. St. Louis Blues are number 3. Minnesota Wild are number 4. And your Colorado Avalanche are number 5. And as far as what they are looking for, again, nothing. They have nothing. So the 2 or 3 paragraphs in their little blurb about them is heavily about Gabe Landeskog.
Yeah,
talk about him mainly in that, where it's obviously more than him, but it is it's still a question. Although he looked good in the few games that he played in the postseason, that's just a small sample size. You do need to see more, and you want to see more out of that. But yeah, if he's back to Gabe Landeskog and how he can usually play, that obviously just makes his team better. And as a whole, your wings on this team, they're solid. It's a solid winging team. So what do you think?
And I understand what the Athletic, like outside looking in, but as an inside looking out, like in the winger position, the one thing the Avalanche wingers need, or just the team needs from their wingers, they need that next man up. They need that consistency. They need that, like, beyond McKinnon, everyday guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year you're going to find that. Again, Mikko's not here anymore. He's not walking through the door anytime soon. They need that next guy. When Nate gets shut down and Kale gets shut down, they need that next wave. Like, we've been giving out grades. We've been talking about who we think could fill in that position. I feel like this is the year where you need that next guy up. And I really want to see who settles into that position. Whether it's Natchez, I don't know, but we will see. But I feel like that is the number one thing that the front office and the coaching staff is wanting for the wingers, and honestly, maybe a center or two.
Yeah, I mean, you look at your top six, and you're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have, we always talk about Nichushkin, we always talk about Lehkonen. We'll see what Marty Natchez can do if he's there for the full year. So you have to like where this team is, and then you go down from there. And we talked a lot about that third line. With Logan O'Connor on there, who we all love. You had Parker Kelly who can play the wing, which probably he'll have to. It's a good, solid team.
Yep.
And how we were saying, the Central is, on the rise, and even more so with the Peterka trade. Out of the top 10 in this, 5 of them are just from the Central. So it was St. Louis at 3, Minnesota at 4, Colorado at 5. So there's 3 in a row right there. And then at 7 is Utah. And this was before the Peterka trade. And Dallas is at 9. So again, you got to be good. You have to be sound positionally. And for the Avs, for centers, you were in the top 5. For wingers, you are in the top 5. Now they have to play that way. You can, this is all on paper stuff, which on paper, you like it. It's got to translate into on the ice. So yeah, I'm with you. You got to see how this all plays out, but I like it.
Yeah. And I hate, the more I'm thinking about the Central getting, it's going to be like the SEC in college football about a decade ago, where they would cannibalize themselves. Great teams that constantly had to play each other, and by the end of the year in the playoffs, kind of fizzle out. And we talked about how great the playoffs were this year. Next year is going to be incredible. The playoffs on the West, for sure, is going to be star-studded and some really, really good teams. You just got to keep getting better, because it's a stacked division.
Oh, absolutely. So that's 2 of those rankings. The Avs are showing pretty good. We'll get to the defense on Monday. I think you can assume that they are pretty good there as well, but you just have to wait and see. And hey, maybe by Monday, if there's deals. I mean, we got the draft coming up here. Maybe there's some deals to be made. So where they're at right now, they could change. Who knows?
Hockey's a silly sport.
Oh, it is. That's why we love it. So be sure to tune in on Monday. We'll discuss the draft, how uneventful it probably will be for the Avalanche, but we'll talk about it anyway. And anything else that's going on in Avalanche Nation, we'll talk about that on Monday. So be sure to tune into that. But for this one, thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Monday. Well, you will have made it through in another weekend where you're that much closer of Sidney Crosby being with the Colorado Avalanche. Hey, maybe it happens over the weekend in a trade.
He's never coming here.